friends, in today's video I'm going to share all about my latest finished object, my Easy V sweater. I'm also going to give you a sneak peek of a test knit that I'm working on and share a few of my feelings about test knitting. And finally, I'll announce the giveaway winner from a few videos ago, so make sure you stay till the end to find out if you won the yarn. Hello, welcome to Hattie Knits Along. My name's Allison, but my friends call me Hattie, and I'm a knitter living in the Pacific Northwest. On this channel, I like to talk about all things knitting, what I'm working on, what you're working on, and what we are currently nerding out about. So if that sounds like something you're into, I hope you subscribe so you never miss a video. First of all, I wanted to share some love for all of you who tuned into my video last week on Caitlin Hunter. It did really well, and I was so happy to see it resonating with so many people because I just really love her designs. Speaking of Caitlin Hunter, I just finished one of her designs, and that is the Easy V sweater. So I am wearing it right now, and I'll insert some footage of me wearing it so you can get a better look at it. But I am beyond excited with how it turned out. When I saw the pictures of Caitlin wearing this on the pattern page, I really loved the oversized look of it. I loved the kind of really open collar, even like a little maybe off the shoulder, and a comfy, generous, positive ease. And I was really hoping to achieve that with this sweater. I also was inspired by the colors that she chose to knit hers in, and I bought the same yarn that she used so that I could match it as well as I could. Let me share some of those yarn choices with you. So first of all, the main color is a Ritual Dyes yarn called Elder, which is 100% Rambouillet. Here's the color Clay. And I actually have one full skein of this left. I'm trying to remember, but I think I bought 5 skeins, and I went off the yardage that was recommended in the pattern, and I'm pretty sure I bought 5 skeins, and I did not touch this skein at all. And in fact, I have like this much left of the 4th skein. So I'm glad I didn't run out, but it is sometimes awkward to have one skein of yarn left. I'm not sure what to do with it, but I'm sure I'll find something. I really love this yarn though. It is gorgeous, bouncy, like lofty. I'm trying to think of all the right words for it because it's very lightweight, even though, this is 100 grams. So 100 grams is 100 grams, but like it just feels so airy, and the whole sweater, even though it's a worsted weight sweater, feels so light. I don't really love the feeling of a heavy, thick sweater. I'm really pleased that this is so lightweight feeling. I also think it gives amazing stitch definition. So yeah, look at that. Obviously, I just finished this, so I'm not sure how it's going to hold up in terms of pilling. It's very soft, so I do think there is a chance that it will pill a little bit. And I did notice as I was knitting along that there were some little tufts of yarn that I kind of had to snip off. Otherwise, they would poke through in weird places. I don't know, that's something to do with how it was spun, but I think it's still a really beautiful yarn, and those were few and far between. But also, I loved, it's a 2-ply yarn, and it was really easy to splice it together, wet splice it together when I had to join a new ball. So you can't even see. I think I tried to do them in the back, but you can't even see where I joined new balls because it was 2-ply. I just cut one of the plies off of each end and rub them together, and they stuck together so beautifully. So I'm really pleased with that because I think, especially when you have large sections of stockinette, a bad join really shines through, and I didn't want that in this sweater. And I didn't get that, so that was great. Other colors I used. So also, the pattern called for, it wasn't a full 2 skeins, but I needed to buy 2 skeins of each color of Spin Cycle, and I'm using 3 different colors of Spin Cycle in here. And Spin Cycle is not cheap yarn. So I was a little annoyed that I had to buy 2 skeins of each for the color work parts of this. I wanted to get the right amount to make the sweater, but I was wondering if I would use it all. And guess what, guys? I didn't even finish the first skein. So now I have 3 full skeins of 3 different colors. So I used Castaway. This is Castaway, which has like these oranges and grays and blues in them. This is Willolo, which has blue again and red and purple. This is Stay Ready, which has brown and black and white. And does it have gray? Maybe some gray. So I have 3 full skeins of those left, plus ends of the other 2. Which these ones I didn't have that much. This one I had more of. So that's a little frustrating. I think I have an idea of what I want to do with these, and let me know if you think I'm crazy. I think so. These are Spin Cycle Dream State, which is their worsted weight yarn. I do air quotes because it is not at all the same thickness as the Elder, which is also a worsted weight yarn. I don't know if you are going to be able to see this. But like, you could see how much plumper the Elder is compared to the Dream State. Park Williams came out with this hat, the Gushy Garter hat, that uses Spin Cycle's Plump, which is their bulky weight gauge yarn. And the way she uses it, it's very like, it's garter stitch, it's a hat, and it's very like marled together. So you don't get a huge like color shifting element of it. It's more marled looking. So what I'm thinking is I can hold 2 strands, 2 different colors of the Dream State together at once and hopefully get close to that bulky weight gauge and knit the Gushy Garter hat out of those extra skeins. Hopefully it would be enough. I think that would be a fun way to use those up. I can also keep them in stash and see if I need some Spin Cycle yarn down the way. Some friends of mine are thinking about doing a plump knit along just amongst ourselves. So I immediately thought of those extra skeins and maybe using those instead of buying some plump. Let me know what you think, if that would work or not. But I think it might be fun. And let's talk a little bit more about the sweater. This sweater has this beautiful V-neck that you shape at the beginning, and it also has this rolled hem here on all of the finishing. So it also has it on the cuff and on the hem on the bottom, which I like a lot. And she suggests to use Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off to do the bind offs, although this is a cast on. So what did I do for the cast on? I might have done a German twisted for the cast on because I wanted it to be nice and stretchy. And I'm so glad that I did these stretchy bind offs because it just gives it that oversized, generous feeling to the sweater. If the bind offs were too tight, it wouldn't be so loosey and drapey, which is what I'm going for. The other things that I changed for my own personal preference is the needle sizes. So the pattern, I believe, called size 4 for the ribbing and size 6 for the body and the color work. And I just sized both of them up. So I did a size 5 for the ribbing and a size 7 for the color work and the body. And I am really happy that I did that. I know I'm a tight knitter, and I knew that I wanted it super drapey and I wanted it to be oversized. So I didn't want to try to just use the same needles that she does because I just knew I wasn't gonna be successful at meeting her gauge. I just checked my gauge for this sweater, and so with sizing up the needles for the main body, that is mostly the stockinette part of the main color, I had spot on 20 stitches per 4 inches, which is what Caitlin says. And then for the color work here, I definitely was a little tighter because it's color work. So I did 22 stitches per 4 inches for that. So it's a little tighter, but it still feels drapey, and I think I didn't try to stretch it that much when I was blocking it. I just mostly laid it out and tried to get the wrinkles out. So I possibly could stretch it out a little bit if I was concerned about trying to get the gauge to be more on par with what is recommended in the pattern. I will say that there is one spot here, and I think this is from blocking, but let's see how well you can even see it. But it kind of like poofs out here, and this is where, the sweater was lying flat, so there's a crease down here when it was drying. And this color work section is just a little tighter than the body here. So I think I probably could have even gone up a needle size for the color work and been happy with that. So maybe done an 8 for the color work and a 7 for the rest of the body. I haven't strayed off the recommended needle size too often in my knitting, but I also haven't swatched too much in my knitting. So I think that I've learned about my knitting abilities and that I'm a pretty tight knitter. So I'm glad that I made that choice to size up instead of trying to fit myself into those recommended needles. Hopefully in the future I play with swatching a little bit. But I will say that I do measure things as I go, and I do measure my gauge. And if I was like really, really off, I would make adjustments because of that. So I knit my sweater in the size 3, which is supposed to be 44 inches across, and I have about a 38-inch bust, so that would give me 6 inches of positive ease, and I do believe that I hit that pretty well. I'm glad I did the size 3 instead of the size 4, which would be 48 inches, because I think that would have been too big. I think there's a fine line between like looking oversized to like looking like you're wearing something that is too big for you. So let's see. There's one other thing. Oh, okay. I also love that I knit my sleeves long enough. I have pretty long arms, and having too short sleeves is annoying to me, so it definitely helps with this open collar. It makes the sleeves longer. But the other thing is this back here is the short rows that I did. I definitely didn't knit those best that I could because it was back and forth flat instead of in the round, and you could tell. So there is a little bit of almost striping there, and it didn't come all the way out when I blocked it, but it is in the back of the sweater, and I don't think somebody who wasn't looking for it would notice it, so I'm not that worried about it. But other than that, I also was worried about where to split for sleeves, because in the pattern it was just like split for sleeves when it's right, and I was like, how do I know when it's right? So I think I got it right, because I didn't get any bat wings. It feels nice and snug, like, it's still loose, but it's close to my armpit, and I can lift up my arms, and of course it goes up a little bit, but it doesn't like go all the way up. So I'm very pleased with where I split for sleeves, and it's extremely comfortable. So I'm just really happy with it, and I highly recommend this pattern. It was a breeze to knit. I started this on January 5th and finished it on January 30th. So that took me about 3.5 weeks to finish. And yeah, so it's a very easy knit, very quick to knit. And especially once you get to the sleeves. I felt like it flew by. The color work on the sleeves is very repetitive and easy to memorize, and by the time I was on the second sleeve, I didn't even need to look at the chart anymore. And I can't wait to knit another Caitlin Hunter design soon. Next, I would like to share a work in progress that I have right now. And this is a test knit that I'm doing for Alicia Plummer. Alicia Plummer is an amazing designer out of Maine, and I really like so many of her designs. She makes everything from sweaters to tees to socks, so she has a large catalog of designs to choose from. I have knit her Plenilune tee last summer, and I really love that. It's like a short sleeve t-shirt with some cables in it, and it's knit out of Moondrake Co's Fua Fua, so it's a brushed cashmere like lace weight yarn, and so it's very lacy with cables but fuzzy, and I don't know, it's a great little. She put a call out a few weeks ago for a test on a pair of socks that she's calling the grandpa socks, although I don't know if that's going to be the final name of the pattern, so watch my Instagram for when that pattern gets released and I'll tell you what it's called. This is my first time doing a test knit for any designer. It's something that I've been wanting to do because I feel like it's a great way to get integrated into the knitting community and meet other people who are as inspired and intrigued by knitting as I am. Let me tell you a little bit about the socks first. Alicia designed the socks in Retrosaria's Mondim yarn, which is 100% Portuguese wool. It's a non-superwash wool. It's named after a Portuguese village which is famous for its sock knitting industry. I've knit plenty of socks. I have never knit socks with a non-superwash wool. One time I did knit some with some baby alpaca, but I think it still had superwash merino and it had nylon in it. This wool, the Mondim, is 100% non-superwash wool. No nylon in it at all. But I have seen so many people knitting socks out of this yarn, and obviously it's named after this village that is famous for sock knitting, so it's designed for socks. When I saw that she designed the socks in that wool, I decided to buy some. I didn't have any in my stash, and obviously for a test knit, I didn't have to use that wool. I could use any fingering weight yarn that I wanted to, but I was really intrigued by this yarn, so I decided to place an order, and there was a discount through the company itself for the testers, so I ordered it through that company. And guys, I ordered it probably 10 days ago, and I haven't seen any updates since it being in Portugal. I haven't seen it make it to the US on the tracking, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna get that yarn. It seems kind of stuck, maybe lost. The test knit is only 4 weeks long, so I wanted to go ahead and cast on in a different yarn. And luckily, I got my Farmer's Daughter Sock Squad yarn on Thursday, and it is the perfect color for these socks. So Farmer's Daughter Fibers is calling this color Luna Moth, and it is this very cool like green, brown, beige, I don't know, green, that kind of color. And it is on their Bighorn sock base, which I believe is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. It's, just a classic sock base, and I like it a lot. It comes with a mini skein too. I'm not using them for this sock, but here's the mini skein, which is like this peachy orange color. So all the yarn this year from Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad is inspired by artwork from Land and She, and this month is the Luna Moth. So you could see I think the main color is like this brownish greenish color here, and then some of the peachy color here. I don't want to give away too much of the sock yet because the pattern is not released yet, but it should be released in a few weeks. The goal is for it to be this slouchy, classic looking sock that is comfy, like you put on a pair of your grandpa's socks, I think. So one thing that's neat about it is it has this really long leg. And it has, her idea of it is that you roll down the cuff. And even with the rolled cuff, it is still very long in the leg. And then it's just the classic heel flap and doing the pattern, stitch pattern on the top of the foot, but stockinette on the bottom. And I'm just now getting to the toe decreases. So I will probably finish this sock up today and cast on the second one. Hopefully, so my original plan with the Mondim yarn was to knit it for my husband. I haven't knit him a pair of socks yet, and she was looking for different sizes to be knit in the pattern for the test. I offered to knit his size, which would be the largest size. These ones I'm knitting for myself, and so it's the third size, I think. I'm really happy with, it's so cozy, and the stitch pattern just adds to that coziness, so I highly recommend these. And they have been very quick to knit. I cast them on Thursday night and I'm already on the toe. All right, let me share a few of my thoughts about test knitting. I spent a fair amount of time on the internet looking at knitting culture there, and I look at everywhere from Instagram to Reddit, on Blue Sky, Ravelry of course, and I know that there have been some major conversations about test knitting in the past, and I think people have some strong opinions on the ethics of test knitting. So if you aren't familiar, test knitting is basically when a group of knitters knits a designer's pattern, almost always for free, but you get the pattern for free, and you share with the designer any issues you might have found within the pattern, but you also, just test out for ease of readability and things like that. I think it's extremely valuable for designers to have test knitters because it's a little bit of an opportunity for them to try out their pattern on a smaller, more controlled group before sending it out into the public. And another added bonus in this digital age is the photographs that knitters take of their finished objects, and how that could act as free advertising for the designer's patterns. There are so many designers out there. There are patterns being released every single day. If you pay attention to Ravelry and the Hot Right Now page, it's just a constant swirl of patterns being offered, and so I can understand why designers would like just a little bit of an edge into reaching more people and having more people sharing their patterns out in the world. Now, this is where I think the ethics come in. For some people, this seems like exploitative free labor on the part of the knitters. So the knitters, the only compensation that they get is the free pattern, and they have put in hours and hours of work into knitting the patterns, as well as the price of the yarn that they're using, and then their time and effort in taking pictures and sharing those pictures on their social medias with the rest of the world. So why would a knitter sign up to do this, right? I think that's where it doesn't seem like as big of an ethical question as is being asked, because as far as I know, test knitting is completely voluntary. Anybody can decide they want to be a test knitter, and anybody can decide they don't want to be a test knitter. So if it was something that was really harmful to a knitter, I don't think that they would want to do it. And maybe they would sign up for one and find out that it's not for them and then decide not to do it ever again. And I think that's totally fine. But there are so many people who want to test patterns. I know this because I have signed up and tried to be a test knitter many times and have not gotten into the test ever until now, until I'm doing this one for Alicia. I know there's plenty of people out there who want to do it and are excited to do it and sign up right away whenever there's a call. I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people make it out to be in terms of exploiting knitters and their free labor. So far, this test has been a really fun opportunity to meet other knitters. Everything has been done on Ravelry in a special forum just for the testers, and everybody is super supportive of one another. Everybody's excited about the different yarn choices that everyone's making, and even Alicia is very supportive of all of those things as well, and receptive to any constructive advice that or criticism that people have had of the pattern. So far, I am enjoying this experience. Now, it is knitting a sock, or a pair of socks. And I do think that the investment that I'm putting into it is pretty minimal as far as test knits go. A pair of socks uses 1 skein of yarn, which, is a lower amount of cost and also doesn't take a ton of time. I can usually knit a pair of socks in a few days or a week at most. In that regard, I think a sock test is a pretty low bar in terms of investment, whereas a sweater might be a higher bar. You have to buy a sweater's quantity of yarn and you have to have a lot more time and effort put into those. And what if you don't like the end result? Because sometimes you might not even know exactly what it looks like when you sign up for a test knit. You probably know once you got the pattern, but I have seen test calls for I'm going to be doing a cardigan, and if you want to be in this test, send me an email or fill out this Google call, but you don't know what the cardigan looks like or what kind of yarn it is. And then the other thing that I've noticed about test knits is that the turnaround time is very fast. So I told Alicia that I wanted to be part of the test. She said, okay. The next day she sent me the pattern. And I was like, oh crap, I didn't have yarn for it for a week, and it's a 4-week test. So I guess people just have sweaters quantities of yarn on hand that they don't have accounted for, so that a test call comes out, they're gonna say, oh yep, I have the yarn for it, and start working on it right away. I guess. I don't know. My brain doesn't necessarily work that way. I like to have a plan far in advance, and I'm not so much ready for the spontaneous casting on and knitting of a project. So maybe that's part of why I haven't been chosen for a test knit before this one. I would love to know what your thoughts are on test knitting. I know it's a controversial topic, so please feel free to disagree with me or say something else about it in the comments below. All right. Finally, the time has come. 2 videos ago, I showed off this beautiful skein of yarn from Sunny Day Fibers out of Portland. It's a sock yarn called Icy Hot Blue, and then a little mini skein to go with it. And I am giving it away to one lucky winner. So I'm going to put the name and the comment of the winner right here. And if that is you, then please make sure you send me an email at hattyknitsalong@gmail.com. Let me know that you are the winner, and I will figure out how to send this to you. But thank you so much to everybody who participated in that giveaway. I thought it was a really fun way for us to all connect with each other and also learn a little bit about Pacific Northwest yarns. This week we have snowflakes in the forecast, and I'm excited to wear my sweater out and maybe take some pictures with some snowflakes in my hair. That's the dream anyways. I also am going to be getting cozy and reading Onyx Storm, which is the new book in the Fourth Wing series. Let me know if you have already read it or if you are interested in the Fourth Wing books. I read the first two, which is Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and I really did like them. Of course, there's parts that are kind of annoying, but for the most part, I really did like them. And now I am, I don't know, like a quarter of the way through Onyx Storm, and my biggest gripe with it is that it's been maybe almost a year since I read the last one, and there's so many characters in it, and each book they're adding more and more characters, which is understandable to the plot line, but they're just expecting us to remember who all of these people were, and I am not remembering who all of these people were. I don't remember if they were good guys or bad guys, and yeah, I don't know. Is anyone else having this problem with this book? I really do enjoy it. I think it's an interesting plot line, but I really wish I knew. I need a cheat sheet of who all these people are. I need it right next to me while I'm reading along. So I'm reading that one on my Kindle, and then I also have an audiobook going. I most of the day am a stay-at-home parent to my two kids. One is in school and the other is a toddler, so I'm with them most of the day. So I don't have a huge opportunity to listen to my audiobooks. As much as I know other knitters love to knit and listen to their books. And maybe one day I'll get there, but right now I'm listening to Wicked, the novel, and that's because the movie came out a few months ago and my daughter is obsessed with it, and we've been listening to the soundtrack nonstop. Well, the book is not the same as the musical at all. There's like Glinda and Elphaba are roommates and go to university shiz. Other than that, I say there's very little similarities between the book and the musical, and in the book is very dark and has a lot of adult themes in it, so I definitely can't listen to it when my kids are around. But I wanted to share that I'm reading that as well. So that's my audiobook. I got Onyx Storm on Kindle, and then my daughter and I are reading The Wild Robot together, and that is a very sweet book so far. We're probably like a third of the way through that one. We have not watched the movie yet, but I have heard good things about the movie, and I'm enjoying this book. I think it's different. It's not like the other books that we've read before. Oh, but we did, if you have kids, especially like elementary school or middle school aged girls especially, we read Millicent Quibb's School of Etiquette for Mad Science. I think that's what it's called. It's a book by Kate McKinnon, and it is hilarious and, girl empowering, that type of book. It's kind of like a mixture of Harry Potter and a series of unfortunate events but then it's Kate McKinnon from SNL, and she's just really silly and throws in these really wild and random things that you just can't help but laugh at. So if you have, especially, I mean, I think boys could read it too, but especially girls of like the 8 to 12 years range, it's highly recommended. It's very good. All right. That's all I have for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for every like and comment and subscription that you can give me. I really appreciate all of them. My channel is getting out there and getting seen, and that's because of all of you liking these videos. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye.